This is it. This is your moment, Sharon. Greatest Days. Tell us all about Greatest Days.
Greatest Days, yes, it is. It uses the music of Take That. So Take That are never mentioned in the film.
Yep.
It just uses it's like Mamma Mia. It uses the music of ABBA without referencing ABBA. Anyway, so that's the basic premise. But it starts off with a woman who is in her 40s. She's a nurse. She's in a happy relationship, and she's a nurse in the children's ward in a hospital at the NHS. And she enters a radio competition. And I work for the NHS, and they have a radio. We have the radio on in our office, and there's a radio competition nearly every day, and
Yeah.
there's always someone in the office who enters it, and you have to answer the phone and say, "Make me a winner" or something like that. And
Yeah.
so this is a lady who's entered once. She's in the hospital. She's entered this competition, and it's to go and see her teenage favorite band, their reunion tour in Athens. And so she enters the competition, and surprise, surprise, she actually wins, and it wins for her. And there's four tickets up for grabs, so her and three friends can go to this reunion concert. And so she's goes to go, and so she enters this competition, she wins, and then she thinks, the three people I really want to go with me are my friends who were obsessed with this band when I was at school. And then you see her flashback to her teenage years and how she used the music of this band. They became her almost like imaginary friends, because she had an abusive, her father was abusive, her home life was destructive. So she sort of lost herself in their music,
Yeah.
and sort of like the fantasy of their videos. And they definitely actually used the videos of Take That, but with this other band, other actors playing the band. So you see that there's a Prey video where they're on the beach and they're wearing like the white clothes, and the shirt's open and blurring. And
All I do at night is pray.
Yeah, and all that. And you see them, but it's not the take, because first you see the video, you're going, is it really Take That? And then it does a close up, and it's like it's not them. So it's actors playing them. And then you see her that when she's like making the dinner one evening, she's like dancing. They're basically dancing with her. They sort of like pick her up and they swing her around, and it takes her away from her world that she's in.
I actually really like that as a device. I really like that as a device.
So yeah, they just like come into her kitchen and they're like dancing with her, and it's just like, she's like using them as this escape. And her four best friends at school, basically share that obsession, and they're basically the whole of their teenage lives is around this. They have to go to this concert to see the band in Manchester. They all live just outside of Manchester. What was the name of the place there? And Sean, is it
I can't
Clitheroe?
remember now. Yeah, it might be. Yeah, Clitheroe. Yeah,
It's
Clitheroe
radio
Market.
station.
Yeah, that's it. Yeah, Clitheroe. Yeah, that's the
So
place. Well done.
they live this life, and there's a group of friends. They're all from sort of different backgrounds. There's like the studious one who's destined to go to university, and she's really studying, and she's like very focused about her life. There's the sort of like blousy, slightly slutty one who's really into boys, and she's really to glamour. She looks, she's all about her looks and about her persona. She's really sort of larger than life. There's the sporty one who's a diving champion, who they think she's destined to be an Olympic star.
There's the scary one. There's the posh one. There's the baby one.
Yeah. And then the other one is she's really creative. She's going to be she wants to be a dancer. She choreographs all their moves, and she's going to be a star. And so all of them have their role to play, but they're like their best friends. They're this bond. And then you jump forward again to where she is when she's just won this competition, and it becomes clear that she's lost track of her friends. And there's an event that happened that we find out what this event is, but there's an event that happened that basically shattered them all in different ways.
Yeah.
And as they decide, the three of them decide that they are going to go with her on this holiday. And then you find out what happened to the one who isn't there. But through the songs and through this music, you see them basically, through rediscovering their teenage selves, they discover who they are now. And so it's about that journey of by rediscovering yourself, you discover yourself.
Yeah. I mean,
Yeah.
So far, so what I would have expected.
Yeah, and it just uses the music, but it uses the music in quite creative ways. And they all sort of sing, dance, jump about, and it's sort of a likable cast.
Okay,
Shawnee,
so
what did you think?
okay, Sharon. Before we go into to talking a bit more critically and everything like that, I'm actually curious. What was your relationship with Take That?
I didn't have one.
Okay, were you ever in that stage of life where you had a boy band where you were like, yay?
Yes, I absolutely. But it wasn't a boy band because I predate boy bands.
Okay.
Mine was Adam and the Ants. I grew as a that was the first time I ever noticed anything other than. That's the first time I sort of sat up and noticed Top of the Pops and actually actively watched Top of the Pops was when Adam and the Ants came. And I had Adam Ant pictures all over my walls. I had the albums. I once had a fancy dress with the white stripe of paint across my nose.
Oh yeah.
And yeah, so I lived for Adam and the Ants when I was a teenager. And then I moved on to David Coverdale and Whitesnake, and so all the Adam Ant posters came down, and David Coverdale went back up again. So I became obsessed with David Coverdale.
Okay, because I don't know whether it's just because obviously I grew up in Nigeria and we were not big into putting posters up on our walls. Probably because our parents would have beaten us up because like, what the, you're ruining my paint. So and also I was also at that point where I was like, teenage boy, boy bands are rubbish. Boy bands, they just make money off screaming girls who are too young for them to go out with. And that was kind of like my thoughts. And it wasn't even until, the film Stardust. The film Stardust came out, and Take That had the song Rule the World, which was on the soundtrack of that film. That was when Take That had the comeback. And you watch. It was weird because you watch Stardust, and you're like, great film, and then it finishes, and then this song comes up, You Light, and I was like, oh wow, okay, good, that's a good song. Who did that song? Take That. Oh. Maybe they actually not rubbish. Maybe they're not entirely rubbish. So yeah, okay. So that was it. So that was your thing with the film. I think it's what you expect. You mentioned Mamma Mia, and I think that's what they're kind of going for in this film.
Yeah.
I actually forgot that Sean actually watched this film as well. So Sean, quickly before Sharon gives us her verdict, what was your experience of watching this film?
Give me my quick verdict because as I say, I did have a few things to say about this. I remember asking Sharon. I said, "So who's who, Sharon?" I mean. Take That and Westlife. That's only today. I found out that Ronan Keating was in Boyzone, not in Westlife. Am I right or not?
Well, you are right. You are right. But
all these years, I thought it was Westlife. But anyway,
no. But then it's easy to make that because Ronan Keating sort of formed Westlife. He was their manager for a while, and Westlife were obviously set up to be a Boyzone clone. Like. Right. Yeah, but Westlife were a clone of Boyzone, so I think the Ronan Keating was in Westlife thing is an easy mistake to make.
But anyway, back to that. I was surprised how many songs I recognised in this. There was just quite a few. I mean, there were some covers. I got to say, there were some covers. The two Tavares covers from the 70s, which probably three.
That covered as well.
Could it be magic? But
Because Take That covered those as well.
Is Take That, those, because they were proper Take That songs, weren't they? I mean, was this band on the screen singing them, or was it actually dubbed, do you think?
No, I think it was the band on the screen singing them. It didn't sound exactly like Take That, but
right, okay. Well, I mean, I was quite surprised. Some of the scenes where you're saying, like, when the first bit before she goes younger, there's a bit where they're coming out the cupboards. I didn't really like that one, and I was like thinking that. But as the film went on, I started to quite enjoy it, and I enjoyed quite a lot of the songs. And Sharon was telling me all about they were videos, so I reckon she must have seen a bit of that when
I'm aware of it culturally. I mean, I wasn't a fan of that. They were just, I was literally too old for that.
Yeah, I reckon I would recognize a Take That video homage if I saw it.
Could it be magic now? Now I like that one. Now, anyway, so what I was going to say as well, just really quickly is, Adam and the Ant was cool. I actually won fancy dress competition representing that because I used to do Civil War reenactments. I had like a cavalry jacket and I wore all the stuff and that. And I remember winning a bottle of whiskey at this. I don't know what. Can't remember. It was somewhere in the land. Anyway, cut long story short. I'll give you 100,000 million imaginary points if you can tell me what sort of posters I had on my wall.
On your wall, what age?
When the teenage, so early teenage, so my teenage years. Up till my late
Barbarella.
teenage. I'll give you a clue.
Okay. I thought you were talking music. I thought you were
Bruce
talking
Lee.
music. Okay, so
No,
yeah,
no,
okay, yeah. Yeah.
Bruce
Okay,
Lee.
Bruce Lee. Okay, I would watch Bruce Lee. Yeah.
Bruce Lee and a big poster of Easy Rider, I remember.
Alright.
And I managed to get a cinema, probably worth something now. I had a Star Wars poster and an Assault on Precinct 13 poster where he's coming out. But anyway, sorry about that. Aggressed like I always do.
Okay,
The film?
okay, so yeah, the film. Yeah, Sean, you're gonna say.
3 stars for me. 3 stars. I quite enjoyed it. I was pleasantly surprised.
Sharon.
Yeah. I think there's a lot to like. I liked that all the characters were likable. They were relatable in many ways, about how you look back and you think, how has 25 years gone since that, when I was that age? And when you think back, like most people have had like an endless summer where they had like a summer when they were like with their mates all the time. They were
Yeah.
out and about and they were doing fun stuff. It was just like you don't remember anything other than like an endless summer, and you think, how was that 20 years ago? It just seems unbelievable. So that sense of nostalgia about it, was really effective. Looking back at childhood friends, really effective. I've got some friends who I'm still in contact with, who I went to school with. My mum, her best friend from school is still her best friend today.
Yeah.
So they're 90 and 89, and they met when they were 9 and 10 years old, and they've been friends the whole time. So that sense of sort of these friendships that endure, and how you lose track of friends, that really was like resonated as well.
Yeah.
So it's quite good, but I did think sometimes the balance between the nostalgia and the current sort of was slightly off kilter. They had sometimes a bit too much time as their teenage selves, and then they sort of didn't quite get that balance right.
Well, you're
but the
like,
music
get
was
on with the
really
story.
enjoyable. Yeah, exactly. It's like, that's fine, but you're signposting a little bit. We know something's going to happen, and you're signposting a little bit now, that we can probably guess exactly what happened without you showing it to us. So when the big reveal, you're thinking, well, I probably could have told you what happened. And when. So I enjoyed it, but again, I like Sean. I would probably give it a 3 because enjoyed it. It's a lot of fun, but I think it's one of those films that give it a couple of years and we would have probably forgotten about it.
So could it be magic now? Maybe. Seems to be the verdict.
Yeah, it's fun, but it's not going to be an enduring classic.